The day the world stopped making sense was the day I found the divorce papers on the kitchen table. My name is Anna Richardson, a 32-year-old marketing manager, and until that moment, I thought I had a loving husband and a stable life. I had just returned from my mother's funeral, my heart heavy with grief. Ethan, my husband of 6 years, was nowhere to be seen. Only the papers, cold and impersonal, greeted me. The message was clear. He wanted out of our marriage. Staring at the documents, a numbness spread through me. Just weeks ago, my mother, a woman of strength and resilience, had left me our family estate, a sprawling mansion nestled in the countryside. It was a place of childhood memories, of laughter and warmth. And now, it was the center of my crumbling world. I heard the door open and close. Ethan walked in, his face impassive. "Anna, we need to talk," he said, his voice devoid of emotion. I held up the papers. "Is this your idea of a conversation?" Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's not just that. I've been thinking about us, about everything. It's not working, Anna." "Not working?" My voice rose, tinged with disbelief and anger. "You wait until my mother dies, until I inherit her estate, to tell me our marriage isn't working?" "It's not about the estate," he said, avoiding my gaze. "Then what is it about, Ethan?" I demanded. He hesitated, then spoke words that would haunt me. "I want to transfer the estate to my parents, the Carters." His words hit me like a physical blow. "Your parents?" I repeated, incredulous. "Why would you even think that's acceptable?" Ethan's expression hardened. "They need it more than we do, and it's not like you're attached to that place." "Not attached?" I laughed bitterly. "That place is my childhood home. My mother poured her soul into it." Ethan shrugged, a gesture that spoke volumes. "Well, I've made up my mind. If you're not okay with it, then this," he gestured to the divorce papers, "is the only way." I stared at him, the man I had loved, now a stranger. "Fine," my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "You want a divorce? You'll get it. But know this, Ethan Carter, I won't let you take my mother's legacy from me." Ethan's smirk faded, replaced by a flicker of surprise. Perhaps he hadn't expected me to stand my ground, but I was my mother's daughter, strong and unwavering. I took the papers, my hands trembling slightly, and walked out of the room. That night, I couldn't sleep. The mansion, my mother's pride and joy, was under threat, and I knew I had to fight back, not just for the estate, but for my dignity. I made a decision. The next morning, I would call the one person who could help me, my Uncle Martin, a seasoned attorney. As dawn broke, I felt a sense of resolve. Ethan had underestimated me. I wasn't just going to roll over and let him take everything from me. No, I was going to fight, and I was going to win. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the room, but the turmoil in my heart overshadowed any comfort it might have offered. With determination, I dialed Uncle Martin's number, my fingers trembling slightly. He answered on the second ring. "Anna, dear, how are you holding up?" His voice was a balm, soothing yet tinged with concern. "Not well, Uncle," I admitted. "I need your help." As I explained the situation, the silence on the other end of the line grew heavy. When I finished, Uncle Martin's response was sharp and immediate. "Ethan can't do that, Anna. It's illegal and morally reprehensible. We'll fight this." His words bolstered my resolve. "I want to protect what Mom left me," I said. "I won't let Ethan and the Carters bully me into submission." "Good," Uncle Martin said firmly. "Let's meet at my office. We'll go over everything and plan our next steps." The drive to Uncle Martin's law firm was a blur, my mind racing with thoughts of legal battles and the possibility of losing my mother's legacy. I found Uncle Martin waiting for me, his expression grave. "Anna, this is going to be a tough fight," he began as we sat down in his office. "Ethan's move is not only unethical, but it's also illegal. He can't just transfer ownership without your consent." I nodded, feeling a mix of fear and anger. "What do? We challenge it," Uncle Martin said. "We'll file a case against him, prove that what he's doing is unlawful. But you need to be prepared, Anna. This will get messy." I steeled myself, thinking of my mother and the memories tied to the mansion. "I'm ready." Over the next few hours, Uncle Martin outlined the legal procedures. We discussed strategies, potential outcomes, and the evidence we needed. He was meticulous, leaving no stone unturned. As I listened, a sense of empowerment grew within me. I wasn't just fighting for property. I was fighting for justice, for my mother's memory. As I left his office, Uncle Martin's parting words echoed in my mind. Remember, Anna, truth and justice are on your side. Hold on to that. The days that followed were a whirlwind of legal documents, meetings, and preparations. Uncle Martin was a fortress, guiding me through each step. Yet, despite his reassurances, the weight of the situation weighed heavily on me. The mansion wasn't just a building, it was a symbol of my mother's love and hard work. Losing it would be like losing her all over again. But amidst the chaos, a newfound strength emerged within me. I was no longer the vulnerable woman Ethan thought he could easily discard. I was Anna Richardson, fighter and survivor, ready to reclaim what was rightfully mine. The days leading up to the confrontation at the mansion were fraught with tension and anticipation. I couldn't shake off the feeling of impending conflict, like a storm brewing on the horizon. Uncle Martin had prepared me as best as he could, but facing Ethan and the Carters was a different matter altogether. The mansion loomed before us, majestic yet somber, as we approached. My heart ached seeing it under these circumstances. Uncle Martin placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. Remember, you're not alone in this, he said. Ethan opened the door, his expression a mix of surprise and irritation. Anna, what are you doing here? He asked, his tone cold. I think you know why we're here, Ethan, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. The Carters emerged from the living room, their faces a picture of feigned innocence. Anna, dear, what's all this about? Mrs. Carter asked, her voice dripping with false concern. It's about this house and your unlawful attempts to take it from me, I said, facing them squarely. Ethan scoffed. It's for the best, Anna. You don't need this place. I don't need it? I echoed, incredulous. This house is my mother's legacy. You have no right to it. Uncle Martin stepped forward, his lawyer persona in full swing. Ethan, Mrs. Carter, Mr. Carter, you are all in violation of the law. Transferring property without consent is illegal, and we will take this matter to court if necessary. The Carters exchanged nervous glances, while Ethan's facade began to crumble. You can't win this, Anna, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. It was then that the bombshell dropped. Uncle Martin, through his investigation, had discovered Ethan's secret. He was in financial ruin. The Carters were not far behind, having squandered their savings on frivolous expenses. You plan to use this estate to bail yourselves out, I realized aloud, the pieces falling into place. Ethan remained silent, his eyes avoiding mine. The Carters looked away, their shame evident. The revelation only fueled my resolve. I won't let you destroy my mother's legacy, I declared. This house is not a pawn for your debts. Uncle Martin and I outlined the legal repercussions of their actions. The Carters' faces paled, and Ethan looked defeated. You'll have to vacate the premises immediately, Uncle Martin stated. Any further attempts to claim this property will result in serious legal action. As we left the mansion, I felt a surge of triumph mixed with sorrow. The house that held so many memories was now a battleground, but I was determined to protect it, no matter the cost. In the car, Uncle Martin turned to me. You did well, Anna. Now let's prepare for the next phase. I nodded, looking back at the mansion. The fight was far from over, but I was ready. I had taken the first step in reclaiming my life and my mother's legacy. In the weeks that followed the confrontation at the mansion, life settled into a new rhythm. The legal proceedings were underway, and though it was a time of uncertainty, I found strength in the knowledge that I was fighting for what was right. The mansion remained a silent witness to the turmoil, standing as a symbol of my mother's legacy, now entwined with my own resilience. It was during this time that David, a colleague from work, became an unexpected source of support. David had always been friendly, but we had never crossed the path of personal connection. That changed one afternoon as we both stayed late at the office. Anna, how are you holding up with everything? David asked, his voice tinged with genuine concern. I hesitated, not used to opening up. It's been challenging, but I'm managing. David nodded, understandingly. If you ever need to talk or just take a break, I'm here. We all admire your strength at the office. His words were comforting, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a connection that went beyond professional courtesy. As days passed, David's quiet support became a constant in my life. He was there with a kind word, a listening ear, and sometimes a much-needed laugh. One evening, after a particularly grueling day in court, David stopped by my desk. Anna, would you like to grab dinner? My treat. You look like you could use a good meal and a break. Surprised, I accepted. Dinner with David was easy and unassuming. We talked about everything except the legal battle and the mansion. It was a breath of fresh air. As he walked me to my car, David hesitated. Anna, I know this might not be the best timing, but I need to say this. I've always admired you, not just for your work, but for who you are. And these past weeks, seeing your strength, I've realized my feelings go beyond mere admiration. His confession caught me off guard. I had grown comfortable in his presence, but I hadn't considered the possibility of more. David, I don't know what to say. He smiled gently. You don't have to say anything now. I just wanted you to know how I feel. Take all the time you need. Driving home, David's words echoed in my mind. Was I ready to open my heart again? The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. Ethan's betrayal had left a scar, but here was David, offering something genuine and sincere. Over the next few days, I found myself thinking of David more and more. There was a warmth in him that drew me in. Perhaps it was time to let go of the past and give myself a chance at happiness. Finally, I made my decision. I invited David for coffee, my heart pounding as I spoke. David, about what you said the other night. I've been thinking, and I'd like to explore this with you. His smile was all the answer I needed. As we sipped our coffee, talking and laughing, I felt a sense of hope. A new chapter in my life was beginning, and for the first time in a long while I looked forward to the future. The legal battle over the mansion drew to a close sooner than I had anticipated. Uncle Martin's expertise and the clear evidence of Ethan and the Carters' deceit swung the case in our favor. The judge's verdict was unequivocal. The mansion remained rightfully mine, and any claims Ethan or his family had were null and void. It was a victory, not just legally, but morally too. It felt like a vindication of everything my mother and I stood for. However, the end of the legal battle didn't bring the peace I had hoped for. Ethan, desperate and cornered by his financial woes, reached out to me. His calls and messages, full of pleas and excuses, were hard to bear. The man I once loved was now unrecognizable, consumed by his own greed and mistakes. One evening, as David and I walked in the park, my phone buzzed. It was Ethan again. Sighing, I decided to confront the past one last time. Ethan, this needs to stop, I said firmly as I answered the call. Anna, please, I'm begging you, help me. I have nothing left. His voice was a mix of desperation and despair. The old me might have faltered, but I had grown stronger, wiser. Ethan, what happened is a result of your choices. I can't help you. You need to take responsibility for your actions. But we were married, Anna. Doesn't that mean anything? He pleaded. It did once, I replied. But you made your choices, Ethan. I've moved on, and I suggest you do the same. Hanging up, I felt a chapter of my life conclusively close. David, ever supportive, squeezed my hand. Are you okay? He asked. I nodded, a sense of relief washing over me. Yes, I am. It's finally over. As we continued our walk, the future seemed brighter, full of possibilities. David and I grew closer, our relationship deepening into something beautiful and real. He was a partner in every sense, supportive, loving, and understanding. Eventually, David and I decided to get engaged. It was a simple affair, but it symbolized a new beginning, a promise of better days. Uncle Martin, ever my pillar of strength, was overjoyed. You deserve all the happiness in the world, Anna, he said, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. The mansion, once a battleground, transformed back into a home filled with love and laughter. David and I decided to adopt a child, bringing a new ray of hope into our lives. Our family wasn't traditional, but it was ours, built on a foundation of love, respect, and understanding. As I watched our child play in the garden, the same garden where I had played as a child, I felt a profound sense of contentment. Life had come full circle. The trials and tribulations had led me here, to this moment of peace and happiness. I realized then that the echoes of deceit and betrayal were behind me. In their place were the echoes of redemption, of love, family, and new beginnings. And as the sun set on the mansion, casting a golden glow over our home, I knew that we were ready to face whatever the future held, together.